Age of majority, back to the basics. Cestui 1666, The Connection. Minnesota Rule 220, at best kept secret 510. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Cestui Act 1666. 1666 Chapter 11, 18 and 19 Cha 2. An act for redress of inconveniencies by one of proof of the deceases of persons beyond the seas or absenting themselves, upon whose lives estates do depend. X1 recital that Cestui have gone beyond sea, and that reversioners cannot find out whether they are alive or dead. Whereas divers lords of manors and others have granted estates by lease for one or more life or lives, or else for years determinable upon one or more life or lives, and it hath often happened that such person or persons for whose life or lives such estates have been granted have gone beyond the seas, or so absented themselves for many years, that the lessors and reversioners cannot find out whether such person or persons be alive or dead, by reason whereof such lessors and reversioners have been held out of possession of their tenements for many years after all the lives upon which such estates depend are dead, in regard that the lessors and reversioners, when they have brought actions for the recovery of their tenements, have been put upon it to prove the death of their tenants, when it is almost impossible for them to discover the same, for remedy of which mischief so frequently happening to such lessors or reversioners. I. Cestui remaining beyond sea for 7 years together, and no proof of their lives, judge in action to direct a verdict as though Cestui were dead. If such person or persons for whose life or lives such estates have been or shall be granted as aforesaid shall remain beyond the seas or elsewhere absent themselves in this realm by the space of 7 years together, and no a sufficient and evident proof be made of the lives of such person or persons respectively in any action commenced for recovery of such tenements by the lessors or reversioners, in every such case the person or persons upon whose life or lives such estate depended shall be accounted as naturally dead, and in every action brought for the recovery of the said tenements by the lessors or reversioners their hires or assigns, the judges before whom such action shall be brought shall direct the jury to give their verdict as if the person so remaining beyond the seas or otherwise absenting himself were dead. If the supposed dead man proved to be alive, then the title is revested. Action for mean profits with interest. X2 provided always that if any person or X3 person or persons shall be evicted out of any lands or tenements by virtue of this act, and afterwards if such person or persons upon whose life or lives such estate or estates depend shall return again from beyond the seas, or shall on proof in any action to be brought for recovery of the same X3 to be made appear to be living, or to have been living at the time of the eviction, that then and from thenceforth the tenant or lessee who was outed of the same, his or their executors, administrators, or assigns shall or may re-enter, repossess, have hold, and enjoy the said lands or tenements in his or their former estate for enduring the life or lives or so long term as the said person or persons upon whose life or lives the said estate or estates depend shall be living, and also shall upon action or actions to be brought by him or them against the lessors, reversioners, or tenants in possession or other persons respectively, which since the time of the said eviction receive the profits of the said lands or tenements, recover for damages the full profits of the said lands or tenements respectively with lawful interest for and from the time that he or they were outed of the said lands or tenements, and kept or held out of the same by the said lessors, reversioners, tenants, or other persons who after the said eviction received the profits of the said lands or tenements, or any of them respectively, as well in the case when the said person or persons upon whose life or lives such estate or estates did depend are or shall be dead at the time of bringing of the said action or actions, as if the said person or persons were then living. Guidepost https://www.legislation.gov.uk/ep/cha2/18-19/11. Office of the Revisor of Statutes. Office of the Revisor of Statutes. MINNESOTACOURTRULES. General Rules of Practice. Rule 220. Birth certificates. The Registrar of Titles is authorized to receive for registration of memorials upon any outstanding certificate of title and official birth certificate pertaining to a registered owner named in said certificate of title showing the date of birth of said registered owner, providing there is attached to said birth certificate an affidavit of an affiant who states that she is familiar with the facts recited, stating that the party named in said birth certificate is the same party as one of the owners named in said certificate of title, and that thereafter the Registrar of Titles shall treat said registered owner as having attained the age of the majority at a date 18 years after the date of birth shown by said certificate. Task Force Comment 1991 Adoption. This rule is derived from 4th Dist. R 11.05. Page 1 of 2. To Secretary of State where you were born. Your State Registrar, Probate Judge, Secretary of State in Washington, D.C. Michael Richard Pompeo C.O. Office of the Secretary 1350 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20004. Affidavit of Ownership. State of blank, SS. County of blank. Birth certificate. I, the undersigned, of lawful age and being first duly sworn on oath, depose and state that I am familiar with the facts recited, and the party named in said birth certificate is the same party as one of the owners named in said certificate of title. I, your full name, as on birth certificate, uppercase, heretofore and hereinafter, claimant, having attained the age of majority and reason under divine law, competent first-hand witness to the truth and facts recited below, hereby makes a claim against the corpus, all property whether real or personal, tangible or intangible, all deposit accounts blocked by reason of presumption of death of claimant, cash, credit lines, credit default swap, all federal funds, collateralized debt obligation, options, derivates, and futures received by the said court in the said county, state and federal for the administration of the named estate, and all estates in agency, including but not limited to your full name, as on birth certificate, uppercase, or by whatsoever name the said estate shall be called or charged. I hereby declare under penalty of perjury that the above information is complete, correct, and true to the best of my knowledge. By your given name lowercase i.e. John Henry Doe, claimant. Authorized representative, John Henry Doe. Attachments. Original birth certificate cusp number. Page 2 of 2. Affidavit, Jurat. This affidavit, Jurat, pertains to the foregoing page titled Affidavit of Ownership. County, blank. State underscore, blank. I, blank, underscore and notary public do verified by my signature below, that the man, woman, blank, been known to and or showing identification card with picture. That the man, woman who now appears before me and signed his signature on the preceding page in my presence and view, and did clearly state the following out loud in living voice before me. All statements in the foregoing pages are my truth, without intent to mislead, and given on my unlimited liability, as my sworn testimony regarding Affidavit of Ownership. End quote. Notary signature, blank. Notary printed name, blank. My commission expires underscore, blank. These pages are the sole property of I, a man, woman, blank. Authorized representative, John Henry Doe. Thumbprint. Date, blank.
I hope you enjoyed. As I stated before, with the birth certificate, it made us dead at sea because we're doing maritime law. So, what you need to do is you want to let them know you are the age of majority. So, you have to attach stating Minnesota Rule 220 that you have to attach an affidavit of ownership to your birth certificate, and that's how you become the age of majority and you own yourself. Other than that, you're a state ward. You don't own yourself. You're looked at as being servile to mortuus. You have no civil rights because you're looked upon as dead entity. Well, hope you guys enjoy. Bye.
Office of the Reviser of Statutes. Office of the Reviser of Statutes. MINNESOTACOURTRULES. General Rules of Practice. Rule 220. Birth Certificates. The Registrar of Titles is authorized to receive for registration of memorials upon any outstanding certificate of title an official birth certificate pertaining to a registered owner named in said certificate of title showing the date of birth of said registered owner, providing there is attached to said birth certificate an affidavit of an affiant who states that she is familiar with the facts recited, stating that the party named in said birth certificate is the same party as one of the owners named in said certificate of title, and that thereafter the Registrar of Titles shall treat said registered owner as having attained the age of the majority at a date 18 years after the date of birth shown by said certificate. Task Force Comment 1991 Adoption. This rule is derived from 4th Dist. R 11.05.